Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Tom Fuller, and my day job is the Communications Manager for the Oregon Department of Transportation. And I am the Professional Development Director with the National Association of Government Communicators. And we're here and excited to hear from Janelle McGregor today. A little bit about NAGC. Many of you already may be a member of the organization, but we are dedicated to advocating, promoting, and recognizing excellence in government communication. We also try to provide professional development opportunities, career advancement, to enhance effective communication with our constituents. And of course, membership is open to anyone who performs communication type duties with a government entity, whether you're a public information officer, speechwriter, webmaster, social media expert, or any other kind of a role. We provide not only world-class training, but also world-class recognition for excellence in government communication through the Blue Pencil and Gold Screen Awards, which I understand the nominations for that are open. So we're excited to hear what you have done to help more effectively communicate as a government organization. Well, as I mentioned today, we're going to be hearing from Janelle McGregor, who is an award-winning communications professional and community builder, and an award winner from NAGC. Now, prior to her appointment as the community partnership manager for the city of Tampa, Janelle was the Tampa Police Department spokesperson, and you'd often find her in front of the camera, keeping the public informed, or behind the scenes, managing social media content, and that's what we're going to focus on today. Her portfolio includes several national awards from the National Association of Government Communicators and the social media platform Nextdoor. So today, we're going to talk about a particular challenge that Janelle faced of creating a catchy social media message with limited in-house resources, which I'm sure you can probably all identify with. So in that instance, the Tampa Police Department turned to Twitter for backup. And so this webinar focuses on a virtual casting call and community engagement that laid the foundation for their award-winning program, The Grinch Who Stole Packages. So I'm going to turn it over to Janelle and give her the ability to share. And then if you have questions, you can certainly ask them in the chat window as we go forward with this. And then once Janelle's finished with her presentation, then we can take as many questions as we can get. So Janelle, welcome and thank you so much for doing this for us.
No problem, Tom. Thank you so much for the gracious welcome. And hey, everyone, how are you guys doing today? I hope doing well. Well, without further delay, we'll jump right into the presentation. Like Tom said, today's webinar is going to be about crowdsourcing community engagement. And working in a government atmosphere, I'm sure all of you can relate to the fact of, we don't always have the resources we need to make those compelling social media campaigns that we want to do. And the Tampa Police Department, we fell in the same place last year when we were tasked with coming up with a new way of getting a message out to our community members about package thefts, because we had a huge problem with package thefts, especially around the holidays. So we all kind of got together and we're like, you know what, how are we going to make this happen? So we were faced with a challenge. And not only did we have this challenge of, making that impact on crime reduction, but what does that look like? What's going to make the at-home viewer interested in aka the Grinch? And so that was one part. So we kind of had a concept going down. Then it came back to, well, we don't have a Grinch costume just laying around the Tampa Police Department. So does that mean this idea can't move forward? What can we do to make this happen? Not only did we not have a Grinch costume, we also didn't have money. We weren't going to spend taxpayers' dollars on buying a Grinch costume to make this video. We did not find that to be a good use of our funding. So, really, really trying to make this happen, we figured out the best way that if we want to truly do this video is to turn to Twitter. And that's kind of how we ended up with the tweet that we sent out one Friday night to figure out, you know, is there someone out there who has not only the Grinch costume, but then the willingness to volunteer their time to this project? And lo and behold, Twitter kind of came to the rescue for us. And a great guy by the name of Leroy Van Eck sent us a DM message saying that he was in the area. He had a Grinch costume. And we found out not only did he have a Grinch costume, he also had a cute little dog to play the role of Max. So that just kind of made everything all the better on that end. So the audience, you know, some people may be asking, well, why Twitter? I mean, we have Twitter, we have Facebook, we have Instagram, but why Twitter? And the easy answer for us on that is we kind of knew where our followers live, i.e. Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And we know how they interact in those spaces where they live. So kind of knowing what your following looks like is always a plus when you're thinking about reaching out to your online followers for assistance. You also want to know what their level of engagement is. If you have a strong Facebook following, but let's say you don't really interact much, or when you put something out there, you don't get a lot of feedback from that particular post, then maybe you may want to think about a Twitter. Another reason why we also chose Twitter was because the nature of our Facebook following. You know, our Facebook followers have a very open level of engagement, meaning that if we put some information out, they're very involved. So they want to ask more questions. They want to know why. And we were kind of hesitant on putting too much information out on Facebook about this project because we wanted it to be special. We wanted not to give all the details away before we even had an opportunity to put all of the elements together. So Twitter was the best platform for us to use because the level of engagement we found on our Twitter feed is it's strong, but it's not based on a lot of back and forth conversations. It's just based on those likes and retweets. So that's why we ended up landing on Twitter for this particular project. You also want to know how your message is received. If you have a community that you serve and they take special interest in certain projects or programs or initiatives, then you know that when you put that message out there, it's going to be received well, and it's not just going to fall on deaf ears. So having a strategy. So once you got the engagement going, you definitely have to have a strategy. Like, what is the end goal here that we're trying to achieve? Specifically to this project and crowdsourcing, the end goal for us was to first get that Grinch, because that is like the main character of this whole project. But then it was also to then find a home, find a couple homes actually, so that we can record this production. So the Grinch was the online segment of the crowdsourcing aspect, and then reaching out to our neighborhood watch groups was a more offline face-to-face function of how we're able to crowdsource the home that we needed, the boxes that people had already kind of sitting around that they were willing to give away and lend to this project. Those are also other elements to it. But then you also want to think about the pros as well as the cons for when you're asking a question on social media, because you have to kind of know if you are going to, you have to kind of know that response you're going to get. The pro for us was, you know, if somebody responded back, then that's great. But the con was, well, what if nobody responds, number one? Or number two, with us being a law enforcement agency, what if someone did respond, but they weren't of the character that we needed them to be, in order to be featured in a law enforcement project? I saw that we have a couple questions here. Tom. Hey, Tom.
Hey, I'm here. The unmute button wasn't working for me.
Oh, no worries, no worries. I'd love for us to take questions throughout the process. I saw here my icon was blinking that we had a couple questions. So I didn't want to.
Let's see if we can find them here, because I'm only seeing our chat between us here.
Oh,
it's okay. Hi, Janelle. It's Mo. It looks like the slides aren't changing. Can you switch the screen like we did before? It's still stuck on the main screen, so they can't see the slides as you advance them.
Ah. All right, everyone, hold on, please.
And I'm able to see the questions and answers. And Janelle, that's what people were chatting about, was advancing the slides. So I think you're good now. So yeah, folks have any questions?
Are the slides showing up now?
They are, yeah.
Okay. For those of you who are just joining us on the slide end of it, if you don't mind, if I could kind of go back to a couple slides, primarily this one, because this slide shows the tweet that we put out there and how we craft our ask, so to speak, for this particular program. And thank you so much for letting us know that the slides weren't advancing. We appreciate that. So after we showed the slide on how we put that infamous tweet out there, we kind of recapped on the importance of knowing what platforms, where your followers live. Is it on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and of course what their level of engagement is. That's always great to know, especially when it comes to sentiment. And here's kind of where we left off here. And please, if you can't see the slides again, please nudge us, let us know. But we talked about having a strategy, knowing what that end goal was when you go out and you're looking for collaborators within your community, knowing what you want to achieve, because it's always good to go into a project knowing how you're going to kind of navigate through bringing people in who you may not have worked with before, and how you're going to embrace them into that project. So whether it be talent, as in this case with the Grinch Who Stole Packages, we're looking more so for talent, but you may have a social media campaign where you're not looking for talent. Maybe you're looking for a cartoon artist, or maybe you're looking for a band to be part of a project that you're putting together. So having an idea of what that end goal, what are you trying to get when you put that online ask out there is always strong to know. And how are you going to ask your online following to be part of this collaborative project? Because you don't want to give too much away, but then you don't want to give too little details either. You want to kind of be straightforward and let people know, hey, we have this project coming up and we're looking for a band. This is, in our case, we found that we needed to put on our tweet that this was a legit request, because we didn't want people to think that it was just us kind of being comical for the holidays. And so crafting your ask, you can also set expectations there as well. For us, one of the expectations that we put out there was it was a volunteer assignment. We didn't want anyone to be under the assumption that we would be able to pay for those services or give them anything in exchange for coming out and being the Grinch for us. All right.
So that was the first thing I was going to ask you, Janelle, is let's talk about the results. And here you are on that slide. So go for it.
Awesome. So the results, right? Drum roll, you know, did it work? Did it not work? Thankfully for us, in our favor, it did work, because we were able to crowdsource online in order to get our Grinch character. And then we crowdsourced offline to be able to get our community, our residents, I should say, to participate in the production as well. So that was both check boxes, good to go, goal accomplished for us. But then the true testament of if this particular production worked was in the numbers afterwards, after the holidays, when we looked back and we calculated what the reach was, because this production was placed not only on Twitter, even though that's where we initially crowdsourced, it was primarily promoted on Facebook, because that's kind of the nature of our Facebook following. Videos do well on our page. So we continuously looked at what the reach was, how many seconds, or if viewers watched the entire video. And then also looking at it from the crime side of our house, of where were we in 2017 with package thefts, I apologize, and where are we now with our package thefts? And we were thankfully indeed able to achieve a reduction. So by looking at those key metrics, we were very, very delighted to know that, okay, this project, although it started off as like a just real crazy idea, it actually did work. And then we kept our participants engaged all the way through the end too. So even though our Grinch came out, he lives, I want to say, 20 miles from the city center. He came out, he volunteered his time. The residents who were there, we kept them engaged throughout the process. So they knew when the video was going to launch, so that they could share that information with their following too. And that kind of just added to the reach. It broadened the reach of how many people were able to get this video in front of. And then we thanked them, you know, because again, they all came together and this was a collaborative effort to make it happen. So once we got those final numbers and the crime reduction and everything, we thanked all of the participants who were involved in it as well. Tom, you had any follow-up on the results?
Well, I was wondering, to back up just a little bit, this is an unusual campaign to do a character like that. And I was wondering, in terms of your internal selling of this with police department folk who, you know, maybe tend to be more on the serious side, and did they react to what you were trying to do, and how'd you sell it internally?
That's an excellent question. Thankfully, we're here we're part of a very progressive team. Our chief, Brian Dugan, he does see the value of social media. So he's always on board for those eye-catching, kind of out-of-the-box ideas to make people tune in, because online there's so much content. It's kind of like you're always trying to decide, you know, what should I follow? What should I pay attention to? So in government, that is a challenge that we have. You know, how do we keep up with the more corporate brands who have not only the money, but they have resources at hand to make projects, really compelling projects, move the needle for their brand? And that's one thing that, you know, it's always a conversation in government. How do we continue to be part of the trend, so to speak? And it's funny you say that too, Tom, because our first award from the National Association of Government Communicators was actually for our Call Me Maybe video. We won the first prize for social media on that. And that was just when the trend was coming out back in 2012 with the lip sync videos that all of a sudden went viral again last year. But that was our first step of what we call modern community-oriented policing, because we thought outside the box and we put a video out there. Now internally, with the Call Me Maybe, because that was more comical and it featured more cops in it, the internal perception was not across the board 100% positive sentiment. There were individuals, because this was the first time we ever done that, who felt, you know, maybe a police department shouldn't be out there dancing or lip syncing a pop culture song. But we had to take that step back and say, you know, are we creating these projects to only satisfy our internal audience, or are we creating these projects with professionalism, of course, in mind, to captivate our constituents and our residents, because that's who we are trying to reach.
So that leads me to my second question.
I love questions.
Which is, so the Grinch, right? Dr. Seuss, how did you manage to be able to use it? Is it in public domain now, or what were the considerations around copyright?
So because we didn't use any true copyrighted in material, so we didn't take any of the script from The Grinch Who Stole Christmas video or book for this project. We're only using the likeness, which is the costume, which is already in public domain. So we didn't find any challenges with that at all. And that is definitely something that, again, government agencies have to consider. I think with YouTube and Facebook, they've become a lot more lenient with incorporating copyrighted video, copyrighted music and characters in different productions, because that's just pretty much the way of the world right now when it comes to trending videos and challenges that exist on social media. Definitely not like when we first started with Call Me Maybe back in 2012. That concept was brand new. So lip syncing that song, although we're able to place that video online, for a very long time, viewers couldn't listen to it on an iPad or on their mobile device because of the copyright laws. But I think social media has done a good job with keeping up with the trend and realizing that that's one of the ways that users engage.
So that leads me to question number 3.
Awesome.
So you talked about internally how you made the sale. What about externally? Because I think also, you know, people are expecting a certain level of or maybe type of communication from a police department, right? You know, you guys are trying to solve crimes and you're out in the street and, you know, all that kind of stuff. So did you have any pushback from people? And I say this because we as the Oregon Department of Transportation, we're big believers in government having a sense of humor. We engage in a lot of these types of things, especially with memes and stuff. Mm-hmm. But not everybody gets it. You're going, whoa, you're a government. You're not supposed to communicate this way. So did you get pushback? How'd you handle it? Or was everybody in Tampa just like, oh, sounds cool?
You know what? And again, another great question. And that was why we made the decision not to use our P cards to purchase a Grinch costume. Because the last thing we wanted to do is to create this great project, this great video project that was meant to educate and inform the public, and then have it kind of all go to the wayside because someone's looking at, well, why are you spending money on buying Grinch costumes? And that was pretty much what led us to crowdsourcing online for that. And as well as the fact that, well, let me back up a little bit. The external perception on this particular project, it was pretty much across the board 100% favorable. And I want to say that with a little bit of a disclaimer, because we've kind of done a decent job here in Tampa with keeping up with the trends and being trendy. And will that work for every agency? And does that work on every social media platform? No, it won't. We have a saying down here is our best ideas always kind of came from somewhere else. And we look at all these different trends and what's going on, and we've kind of craft it so that it fits our online audience. And we've had hits and we've had misses as well. And that all kind of comes into knowing your audience and how well is your message received.
So I don't know if everybody's had a chance to look at the video that you guys did. It's hilarious. I'll tell you that. Loved the music, the little sound effects you put in, the officers that you had on the scene. I noticed the woman was smiling a little bit. The guy was not, so I kind of liked that. But I wanted to talk a little bit about the production and how you actually did that. Was it all in-house? You know,
Yes.
Our folks are, single person shops, or they might have, a few resources. Tell us a little bit about what resources you used to put this thing together.
Well, thankfully, we had an in-house production team. So we used our city's digital media team. So they came out and they were able to film all of the different elements and edit everything down for us and add that comical bed of music that Tom just mentioned into the final video project. Does every agency have a digital media team at their disposal? And the answer to that is no. So what do? Do you let that prevent you from creating engaging social media campaigns? Or do you get out there and you ask on social media for those resources that you need? I had a discussion with another law enforcement entity, and they wanted to know, how we make our videos. And again, thank goodness we do have those in-house resources. But my advice to them was, hey, I'm sure that there's an officer out there on your force that can work an iPhone to no end. And there may be another officer who has some great editing skills. So crowdsourcing may not just exist, crowdsourcing for talent and resources may not just exist online, but it exists internally as well. It's all about not being afraid to ask and including those different creative voices in your projects.
So I'm curious of our folks out there, and Kim's got a question here. I don't know if you can see that, Janelle, but think about, how many of you have those types of resources that you can use to create content like that, and how many times you've had to go outside. But Kim's question is, we've heard some child support offices have partnered with the local community colleges that have audiovisual departments. So that's one great idea. And this I really like. It's a chance for students to get real world experience and develop their portfolios. Absolutely. And at the same time, you folks, they get the video that you're looking for. So those kinds of ideas.
Absolutely. That's a great suggestion, Kim. Being able to partner with a local community college or university has so many different benefits. Like you said, not only are you giving those students an opportunity to learn about a different career or field, but it's kind of like almost like a bartering system in a way where you'll be able to take advantage of their creative skills. And hearing that different creative voice, making that different creative voice part of the process. One of the challenges that we're running into here at the police department is, what's the next best idea gonna be? Where is it gonna come from? And that's something that we've been talking about, bringing more people into the fold, external voices into the fold to help give us a little bit of creative direction for our projects.
So Janelle, I had a question about the results. And oftentimes we talk about like the reach of something, how many people saw it, and that, is a good metric. But what I really liked and wanted you to maybe comment on a little bit was you didn't just measure the outputs, which is, like reach and that sort of thing, but you measured the actual reduction in the packages being stolen, which is, it's a behavioral metric, and is what your overall goal was, wasn't it, to reduce the number of packages being stolen? So when you presented that to the chief or to whoever else that you were talking about the results of the campaign, talk to me about the impact that the actual reduction had as a result of your campaign versus just how far the campaign reached. Did you see a difference in the reaction from the chief or whoever you presented to?
Oh, absolutely. Because then he saw the fruits of our labor. It's one thing to get out there and be funny and put a creative video together. It's a whole nother thing when you look at what impact is that making on the quality of life of our residents. And to be able to show him that this campaign actually did move the needle on reducing package thefts, which was our original goal starting out, he was extremely pleased about that. And that's something that we always have to keep in mind. What is the end goal of this project? Are we just simply trying to educate and entertain, or are we really trying to catch that user's attention and ask them, make that call to action to them, and give them direction on what they need to do in order so that we can see, those crime reductions take place.
Was there like an increase in arrests, or was it increased vigilance? Was there any idea of what led to the reduction?
It was definitely increased vigilance, because people had an opportunity to kind of hear, okay, what steps do I need to take to keep my packages safe? And that's kind of how we measured the decrease in package theft reductions. So it wasn't based solely on arrests, even though we did make a couple arrests during that time period. This was mainly, how we prevented those crimes from happening, what that reduction was. So we saw fewer victims of package thefts in 2018 than we did in 2017. And that was because we took that aggressive approach, and we were strategic in our messaging to not only captivate the online viewer, but to give them that much needed information, to infuse those tips into the video so that it could make that impact.
So I was looking at the end of your video, and
you weren't supposed to look at it yet, Tom.
Oh, I know. All right. I previewed it before, so sorry. Are you going to show it to us, though?
Absolutely.
Okay. So what I wanted to focus on, and maybe after you show the video, you can go through this, but it was more than just the video, right? At the end, you actually had a call to action, and maybe talk about some of the materials that you also provided. So anyway, I will be quiet now and let you continue.
Oh, no. Again, please keep the questions, keep the chats coming. Interaction is how we all learn. So this has definitely been a great time, great experience. So kind of before I show the video, we talked about bringing everything all together again, how those interactions occurred, the crowdsourcing, how we went to Twitter to get the Grinch, and then how we then went into the neighborhoods to find the backdrops, the homes that we needed. So we had those two creative components there, external creative components there. And, using our in-house digital team, we're able to kind of bring everything together. So once the video was done and we were satisfied with the message, the verbiage, and the time of the video too, because we knew that we didn't want to do a production that was going to be so long, people would tune out and then they wouldn't get those important tips at the end. So that was kind of part of our strategy and part of our thought process as well. What's that sweet spot when it comes to the length of the video that we want to show so that a viewer would get the message all the way to the end and not just those first 3 seconds of the video. So once we did all that, we needed to get the word out there. We needed to post it on Facebook and post it on Twitter and link back to it on Instagram. And then also continuously remind all those creative voices, the Grinch, the homeowners who lent us their homes, to share the message too, because again, it's all about trying to broadening your reach, because the more people who have access to this information, then the more likely you'll be in achieving your end goal, which is, in our case, reducing package thefts. So once we got all that done, we went back, we looked at the metrics, and that's how we're able to decide, you know, we had a lot of fun making this video that was qualitative, but from a quantitative perspective, you know, did this help us? Did this help our agency? And from looking at the number of package thefts in 2017, I apologize, to 2018, we're able to then say, certainly, okay, we did move the needle. We did accomplish our department's goal of reducing package thefts. So I don't know if all of you have had the opportunity to watch The Grinch Who Stole Packages yet, but if you haven't, you're in for a treat, because I did make it part of this presentation. So here's how a tweet ended up going viral and reducing crime. I apologize here. I'm trying to close my question and answer box here.
Looks like you're on the naughty list.
Remember, track your packages online, require a signature, and monitor your front porch with a security camera.
Arrange a delivery time when someone is at home, and pick up your packages from your local post office or from a friend or neighbor.
And there you have how the Grinch was not able to steal packages last year in the city of Tampa. Any additional questions?
Well, Janelle, I'm going to jump back in here, because one of the things that I was impressed with was kind of the cheesy quality of the video. I mean, you weren't trying to dress the person up in full Grinch regalia. The shot with them going up to the porch, it was clearly a person, you know, with a mask, kind of Halloween. So I think you really, it seemed to me anyway, kind of hit that right note of playfulness with even how the video was produced. Was that purposeful? What was going on there?
No, it was all pretty much happenstance, because when we put that tweet out there, we just wanted someone who would look like the Grinch. We knew we didn't want someone with just a Grinch sweater on. We wanted them to dress like the Grinch. But we didn't want to narrow our criteria down so much that we wouldn't get a response. So he showed up, and that was our first time really seeing his Grinch outfit. And you know what? We're like, we got our Grinch, we're good to go. We're going to make this idea work. But it all goes back again to crafting your ask. Somebody may want a character that's in a specific costume that's covered from head to toe. Our Grinch was not covered from head to toe. So that's all, you know, kind of in that conversation or in that social media post, putting that criteria out there so you know kind of what you're getting. So once he showed up, we kind of took things from there, and we made it comical, we made it funny. Yeah, added that little bit of cheese factor in there, but always keeping in mind that whatever we did, it needed to happen quickly, because we didn't want to lose viewers. So we needed to happen quickly, and we needed to be able to infuse those tips, because those tips, although we talk a lot about the Grinch, the tips are the most important part of that video.
And so I noticed you had a URL at the end. Is that like still live, or did you already have to take it down?
Yes, no, that's static information on our website. And it always helps at the end of all of our video, we like to link people back to more information. Because again, you can only get so much information in a 1-minute video. So kind of having that call to action at the end, we've found gives us another opportunity to keep that community member engaged way after the video has ended.
How about other questions that folks might have online? Feel free to type in the box there, the Q&A. Love to pose some difficult questions for Janelle to answer.
Yeah. And again, it's just kind of getting out there and stepping outside your comfort zone and asking, you know, allowing those other creative voices to be part of your agency. Because not only does that then create buy-in for your project, that also creates buy-in for your agency. Before we got introduced to Leroy Van Neck on Twitter, we never had any interaction with him before. But now he's someone that continuously is on our social media posts, interacting with us. So there's a kind of like an online bond that was formed through that relationship. And with the residents who allowed us to use their homes as well, because you know, who doesn't want their home to be featured in a super cool video that people are watching, and that now has won awards. I actually had one resident who about 2 weeks ago was asking if we're going to show this video again this holiday season, because he was so excited to see his neighborhood being featured. And I'm like, absolutely, we're going to do that. And his response was, that's great, because I want to share it with everyone I know. And that's what our goal is too, being able to increase that reach so that people can see what's going on and walk away with those important tips at the end. So definitely don't be afraid to ask. Just know what you're asking for when you put that ask out there. What are you trying to achieve, and what level of participation do you want that creative voice outside your agency to provide back to you as well? And of course, making it known whether it's a volunteer project or whether that person is going to be able to receive a stipend at the end, or if there's some type of gift of gratitude that they'll receive at the end for their participation. Knowing the answer to all those things up front before you put that ask out is always good to have.
So I noticed, Janelle, that you also had some local media support. I don't know if you had it for the campaign, but the problem of packages being stolen, noticed some of the Tampa News organizations were doing story. So was that how that sort of started with you, or was that ancillary to the campaign?
That the package thefts had been an issue we've been challenged with for several years. And that's what made this project even more challenging, because we already had issues with package thefts, but now we're going into the holidays, a time of year where even more packages are delivered than usual. So we knew then that the campaign needed to be something that wasn't going to be your ordinary or our standard messaging for package theft prevention. And that added to the challenge, added to the need for us to kind of take things to the next level so that people could pay attention that this is a serious situation that we're having with these, we call them down here, package pirates. So package pirates are on the loose down here. And we wanted people to know, here, you need to take this seriously. We don't want any of our community members to be a victim of this crime. So here's what you needed to do. So with that, this video kind of actually enhanced our media response, because the media had been covering package theft for quite some time. So the story became a little stale in ways, because there was always someone who had a Ring doorbell video that, you know, were sharing that video with the media and saying, hey, can you help us identify this package thief? So this video for even the media was new, because it was a new take on us informing the public on an older ongoing crime problem.
All right. Any other questions that we have for Janelle? Well, we certainly want to thank you so much, Janelle, for taking the time to share your great story with us. Funny and serious at the same time, and appreciate that, just getting out there and asking. If you won't get it unless you ask, right? And I think sometimes we're kind of afraid of that, but I like your strategies both internally and externally to get this across, and obviously quite successful. So thank you again very much.
Thank you, Tom, and thank you everyone out here who participated in this webinar. Again, just to reiterate what Tom said, don't be afraid to ask. If you don't have the resources within your agency to make your project or to bring your idea to fruition, think about really engaging your online community or your community members, whether it be online or offline, on being part of that creative process. There is a great website out there. I want to say it's called hitrecord.org, and it's all about online collaboration. So if you have a chance to check that out, I would recommend that as a source as well, just to get some ideas of maybe how you can embed those strategies into what your agency is trying to accomplish. And that website, again, is hitrecord.org.
All right. Thank you, Janelle. Now, some of you may be aware this last end of summer, we put out a request for a survey to find out what types of topics the membership wanted for our monthly webinars. And we got some great engagement, great tips back. And so I'm currently following those sort of top 10 topics to bring you webinars that will be very effective for your communication efforts. And next month, on December 18th, Brenda Foster is going to be presenting on the strategic communication planning process, which was one of the top topics that was requested. So please look out for that webinar and join us in December. I know it's a busy time of the year, but this one will be perfect for your communication planning efforts for 2020. So again, that's next month. And we are done here. We'll let you go a few minutes early. Thank you for your participation. And Janelle, again, thank you for presenting today. Y'all have a good day.
Thank you. Have a great one.